Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight were the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rugged track where the bomb bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Hello, shooters. Coming up next, we're taking you to Redding, California for the world's largest 3D target event. Molly Smith is there, and she has with her some of the best archers from around the country. We'll take you over the course, we'll meet the shooters, and we'll find out what's hot on this year's equipment list. If you haven't been to Redding for the Straight Arrow event, sit back, you're going to enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Molly Smith, and this weekend I'm in Redding, California for the 29th annual Western Classic Trail Shoot. Now, this is all 3D targets and simulated hunting conditions, so there's going to be some pretty interesting targets, I hear, and some pretty interesting people. Let's go check it out. I'm here with Greg Poole. He's also known as the industry guy. He's the go-to guy if you're having stabilization issues. Now, what makes Redding and this match so special?
Redding is unique because it's considered a safari course. It's 3D animals with an orange dot. You shoot 2 arrows per target from 3 yards to 101 yards. Basically, what's unique about this course is it has uphills, it has downhills. It's challenging, but historically, this is the 29th year for this shoot being put on. Historically, this shoot had been a 2-day shoot, meaning you shot on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, you shot 50 targets. It was a marathon. I don't remember exactly how many years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, they actually changed it to the current 3-day format, where we shoot 25 on Friday, 25 on Saturday, 20 on Sunday. We start about 8, 9 in the morning. We're off range by about 2. The record is, there's a total of 1,540 points possible. The record is 1,535. Roger Willett originally set the record when it was a 2-day. That's a pretty steep accomplishment. Since then, since it went to the 3-day, Shane Wills, Danny McCarthy, Levi Morgan, and Chance Bobeth have all tied that 1,535 record. Now, keep in mind, 1,535 points out of 1,540, that's swimming in the deep water. I mean, you really have to have your game together, you know, if you're going to be shooting a score like that. The year that Shane Wills did it, it was similar to this, except for it was raining so hard we had to wait on some targets because we couldn't see them. Shane Wills tied the record in those kinds of conditions. It was very, very impressive. This shoot is widely considered the shoot where the winner of this shoot is the best shooter on the course. There's a lot of other venues of archery where you can make a big mistake, you can do a lot of things and climb your way back into it. This is one of those shoots that if you make a big mistake, you pretty much have cost yourself the tournament. So this tournament is not only a test of your physical skill, but it's also a test of your mental game.
Don't go away, because we'll be right back with more of the Western Classic Trail Shoot. Welcome back to the 29th Annual Western Trail Classic. Talking with Chuck Cooley should give us a great opportunity to have some more insight onto this match.
This target always seems to own me for some reason. Maybe it's because it's the first target in the morning, I don't know. See that right there? See the busted nut? And it kissed his arrow out. It just might. Yeah, when you have a kiss out like that, you know, the arrow hits the back of the knock and it pushes it right out of the scoring ring.
Yes, he did.
And that's kind of one of the drawbacks is when you're shooting a bunch of arrows as a group like that and it kisses out, you know, it costs you a point. The advantage to shooting first is you're not shooting into the wad, so, you know, you definitely have the opportunity to, you know, have a nice clean target. You know, shooting second, you know, you're going to run that risk. This is a, lubing my arrows. This is a silicone gel that you put on the front of the arrow so that it's kind of a release agent. It comes out of the foam a lot better because the foam has a lot of grip. This is another one. This is Woody's Aero Lube. This one's from OMP, and he's got another brand over there. It's called Scorpion Venom. It's a target arrow release fluid. And there's all sorts of different brands. This is a little what they call a lube tube. You actually put that same material in here and you just dip the arrow in there, and it just makes the arrows easier to pull out of the targets. Otherwise, they stick really bad. So since the other guys are pulling all the arrows for me this weekend, it's kind of nice to make them pull out real easy.
Hey, now we're going to check out the barn, and this is where they keep all the 3D targets, so let's see how this looks. We have an entire family of bear right here. We have the dad and the mom and the babies. I see raccoons and some turkey and a fox. And these guys look mean. These guys are good targets. They look mean. Who makes all these?
We get them from a gentleman called Phil Raglan. He hand makes all the animals and hand paints them. And he's been doing it for quite some time for us, and he does a really excellent job.
That's great. And do you shoot archery as well?
I don't really, not as often as I'd like to, but I stay pretty busy year round. Just it's a big place here. We've got 69 acres, and it's just, I'm so happy to be here. It's just so beautiful.
And how long have you been doing this? This is a lot of work.
About a year and a half now. I just started recently, and I'm starting to get into the swing of things here.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much for talking to me.
What we've got, you know, with a modern adjustable sight bars, and this is a target sight, and it has micro adjustment. Each click is only a few thousandths of adjustment, so you can actually dial the sight in exactly perfect for all your elevation and your windage, just like you can on a rifle. You know, we take a look at the elevation of the target, the drop, the angle, and we can actually dial that right in. We have a cut chart that tells us, you know, the different yardages and how much we're going to cut off the target, and then we have a software program that does the same thing. So we can dial in the windage, and then with our scopes, you know, the modern scope that has a lens that magnifies the image, makes the target look a lot bigger. As you're looking through it, you know, it enhances it, makes the dot bigger, easier to see, just kind of like a rifle scope, but on a much simpler scale. And we have a peep, obviously, in the string that helps us to center everything up and make sure we're in proper alignment.
Can you explain the peep, what that really is? No one knows what that is.
Well, the peep in the string is just like you would use for a rifle peep. The peep has a small aperture in the front of it there, When you come to full draw, you're actually looking through the peep and the scope, and it helps to keep everything in focus and keep everything lined up. You see it there. And different peeps have, this one has a hood on it to kind of keep the shade or the light out, and it all helps with the aiming system. Most of the bows, especially in the pro divisions or the freestyle divisions, we have really big stabilizers. These are a high modulus carbon stabilizer, and we can adjust them and pivot them for balance. And these are all different weights that we put on the back to make everything feel a little bit more comfortable. And the whole idea is to keep the bow very balanced and very comfortable in your hand when you're shooting. We also are using really high-end strings. These strings are made by BCY. This one is a winner's choice version. It's a super high-end, high-speed string mechanism for the compound bows. And you can see the newer compound bows have all adjustable modules and draw stops so that we can get the right draw length for all the equipment. This particular one, super high speed, high let off, so that you're pulling 60 pounds, but you're actually at full draw only holding about 15 pounds. This is some of the latest equipment that's out, some of the most advanced equipment that's out for compound bows. Split limb technology for high energy, high speed transfer. These bows go as fast as about 360 feet a second, which is incredibly fast for target archery or for a hunting application. So this is a good look at a freestyle setup, something that you would see on the tournament line. But a lot of this technology transfers right over into your hunting setups and things like that. And as far as the sighting mechanism goes, a lot of that translates into the gun sports as well, with being able to dial in, like I say, the distance and elevation and the windage. You can actually crank it all right in there.
We'll be right back with more of the 29th Annual Western Classic Trail Shoot. It's starting to get pretty breezy out here, and some of the archers are having some difficulty with that, especially with some of the high shots and the low shots, and that's where the wind gets even more gusty. So that stage seemed to be pretty difficult, especially with the wind. Can you tell me what sort of things you were compensating to make sure you got your shots?
Right. Well, first of all, it's down a little bit of a gully, and you had some crosswind coming up through there. So you had some crosswind coming across and a little bit that could be coming up and lifting your arrows. So you have to either aim off, or you can, bubble your sight to adjust for the wind that's going to push your arrow over. So it was pretty tricky. It was coming in gusts, so it wasn't anything consistent. So you had to be watching the wind as you was at full draw. So it's kind of tough. So.
And I noticed at one point you were able to release your hold just before the wind gust came. Was that just luck, or did you see it coming?
I tell you, you can hear it, and you can kind of time it too with the gusts that are coming. Sometimes they're consistent enough to where you can kind of time it, and I kind of heard it coming as I was at full draw, so I knew I either needed to get the shot off or else let it down, and luckily the shot broke. But the second one I actually overcompensated. There wasn't as much wind coming through there as I thought there was, and ended up hitting exactly where I was aiming, so didn't quite work out on the second shot.
So what we're doing here is this next target. This is a 45-yard target. It happens to be a flat target, so there's no angle, there's no cut on it. So using the software program that I've already pre-shot in the marks, and then hit the calculate button. You shoot in basically a 20-yard and a 60-yard, or a 20-yard and an 80-yard mark, and then you hit the calculate button, and the program gives you all your individual settings right on your sight scale. So this one is a 45-yard target, and I can see that I'm going to go to my sight scale setting, which 38.2 on the scale correlates to 45 yards. So tuck that away, and then we can dial this right in. This has a speed slide on it, so I can get it right set exactly where I want. And then you can see with this micro adjust here, just a few thousandths every single click. I can dial it right in, and I use my indicator there, so I'm on 38. Then look at the number scale up here on the top, put it at 38.2. And now this scope and this sight system is set for that exact yardage at 45 yards. And with a system like this, I mean, you can dial in right into a quarter yard at well over 100 yards with this kind of a setup.
Behind me is Bigfoot. Now, he's been the main attraction, the heirloom of this match for all 29 years it's been going on. Now, this is the longest shot, one of the most challenging shots in the entire match, and people love it and they hate it at the same time. It's an interesting character, it's a fun character, but it's a difficult shot. Tell me a little bit about Bigfoot.
Well, today it's a 101-yard shot. They've been doing this tournament for years. Hopefully there's about 1,500 people here today. Was it looking?
29th annual.
29th year for Bigfoot.
Wow.
7.5 feet tall.
All right, so this is Tim Gillingham from Gold Tip, and what we're talking about is all the different styles of arrows that are being used at this particular outdoor tournament. You have very, very thin carbon composite shafts with an aluminum core, different fletching designs, different wrap designs, and you can see different knock designs, and each one has its benefits and advantages, and in some people's minds it'll also have some downsides. This is a little larger size carbon, and Tim's got a smaller, this is the new Gold Tip kinetic arrow, and Tim's also using a VaneTech vane without a wrap. Tim, you can see when he weighs his arrows out, each arrow is measured within 1/10 of a grain there, and it makes a huge difference downrange. What do you think the advantage is there, Tim?
It's more about mass weight downrange. Mass weight is what really will keep you from blowing left or right more than anything. So one of the downsides in a tournament like this for shooting big diameter shafts is you have to worry about other arrows striking, the bushing on the back and glancing out. So that can be a problem. But a bigger guy like me with a long, draw length, I got to shoot a much stiffer shaft. So stiffer shafts mean bigger diameter shafts and heavier shafts. So.
And then there's different point designs as well. Tim is using a point design here. This is a little different Gold Tip point. This is a long stainless steel point. This is actually a tungsten point, much shorter. It still has a lot of mass weight. Who makes this one, Tim?
Well, this is a Gold Tip.
That's a Gold Tip point?
It's a stainless steel point. You can figure $30 a dozen. You can figure $250 a dozen. So most people, the tungsten points are just not economically viable. This here's a stainless point. It's much more economically viable, but it takes a longer point to get the same weight in a given area. So.
Right. It's going to make the shaft perform or act a little differently.
Slightly, but it's also more about it's more about cost, but in Europe they have some pretty rough targets over there, and they bend a lot of these stainless steel points, so they go to tungsten, which gives them a stronger, shorter point. So
just for durability and doesn't tear up the shaft. So that's just a quick look at all the different things that go into making up an arrow design for a tournament such as this. The heavier, the lighter points, the different designs, even just the different fletch designs. Tim's got a little bit longer. What's that, a 2-inch VaneTech?
That's a 2.25, and my arrow is 460 grains, so 460 grain arrow is going to require more vane to correct it and to control it than a 300 grain arrow.
Right. This arrow weighs about 349 grains, so I don't need as much steering. And this is a shield cut design. And the wraps more or less just help with the adhesion.
Typically you get more correction, in my opinion, out of a shield cut than you do out of a rounded parabolic. But again, if you're trying, one of the things we have to worry about for long distance shooting is limiting drag effect. So we don't want too much vane on the arrow so that it slows the arrow down too fast, because then your groups start to open up because the arrow becomes much more susceptible to wind drift.
To influence.
And it's really about how fast that arrow slows down that makes it susceptible to blowing left or right.
Right. So it's a measured give and take.
We'll be right back with the Western Classic Trail Shoot.
It is one arrow per shooter. It will be closest to the center in a sudden death shoot-off. Shooting off for first place for the outdoor marked yardage National 3D Championship and the Western Classic Trail Shoot, Henry Bass and Christopher Perkins with a 15.33. Christopher Perkins representing PSE. Henry Bass representing Matthews. Henry also shoots gold tips. Chris Perkins shooting Carbon Express. Gentlemen, the range is clear.
Henry Bass is the first one up. Both of these guys will be their first major outdoor win at this event. Chris Perkins is actually, it's his first attendance to this event. Henry just misses the dot, it looks like. Ooh.
And there it is. And he just caught it. What a wild shot.
That's some of the roughest form I've seen ever.
Wow.
They were pushing it.
Congratulations to Chris Perkins. PSE, he is your new National Outdoor Champion for Marked Yardage 3D for the NFAA and the Western Classic Trail Shoot. That concludes our shoot-offs. Thank you very much for attending. We'll look forward to seeing you next year at the Western Classic Trail Shoot.
A good day.
Conditions were pretty rough too. We had a lot of wind yesterday, a lot of wind today.
Yeah, today I think it was a little bit harder than yesterday.
Yeah? Sure. Yeah. Now you shot off against Henry Bass. Now that was his first shoot off here for this, I believe, as well. And you guys actually shot a different part of the course each day. Historically, the winners or the leaders of this are in pretty close groups. They know what everything is going on, but you guys are at opposite ends of the range all weekend long, rotating. So any pressure, any difference there?
Today there was some pressure knowing that, Henry, I'm not too familiar with the young lad, but I know he can shoot, and he is a great shooter. But definitely having different parts of the course each day definitely put some pressure on for today.
Right. Now I watched that last shot. You had quite a bit of English in that ball.
Yeah,
what happened there? It looked like it almost got away from you.
Yeah, it didn't quite break in the middle, but...
This weekend has been fantastic. I've learned so much about archery, and I've had a great time watching it. You know, I've seen Bigfoot, I've seen deer, I've seen all these animals in their natural habitat, and I had a great time learning all about archery, and I hope you did too. So see you guys next week. Bye!